What's up, kids? It's Mrs. Salati.
And Mrs. Cervantes.
Together we are
Mrs. Salati.
So 18-1 should be fairly easy. We're starting to amp it up a little bit. This is where we roll from 7th grade equations to 8th grade equations. So this one happens to be equations with variables on both sides. Your essential understanding is I can represent and solve equations with variables on both sides. We have the same vocab. So we're just focusing on using the inverse operations. And again, Cervantes, I'm still fighting with kids, but they'll see on 18.2, they're going to be blown away. But anyway,
Okay.
Operations that undo, right? So we're still talking about trying to funnel down operations that, I'm not going to erase it, it's just Friday, you guys, undo each other. So if we look at, we have adding and subtracting, and multiplying and dividing. We're just talking about, I like that Cervantes did this the last time, is PEMDAS backwards. So we always look at adding and subtracting. You know what I was thinking about though? 18.3 is equations with parentheses, distributive property. So then it gets funky.
Well, they have to do PEMDAS, but then when they start to
Solve.
to expand it, and then when they start to solve, they have to untype.
You're exactly right.
So there was something in the book that I liked that I've never used this word. Do you say expand?
No.
Okay, so there is something in one of the reviews that says using distributive property is expanding it.
It is because it makes it one number bigger,
Like
right?
expand and then factor.
Yeah.
Okay. So
All right,
maybe
so check
that'll
this
help.
out. We have variables on both sides. We have an x on the left, we have a 3x on the right, we have a constant of 5 on the left, and a constant of -1 on the right. Now listen, this is the only problem I'm going to do this with, but I need to show you that you understand that it doesn't matter where you start, okay? So I'm going to always start, my preference is that I start where I'm not going to have a negative variable. So I look at my two variables, I identify the smaller one, and I'm going to cancel that out. So I'm left with 5 equals 3 minus 1 is a 2x minus 1. I'm going to add my 1 to both sides. See how I'm going down to a 2-step? Then I get a 2x equals 6. I divide by a 2, and 3 is my x. So now listen, we were at, last time we did the video, Cervantes really focused on the 1 part, the 2 part, and now this is where we get into the multi, okay? So again, you guys can also see that I'm funneling down my steps into a final solution for that variable. But what I want to show you is, and I don't need to do it 4 times, but I just want to show you that if I start somewhere else, I'm going to get the same solution. So let's start with adding a 1 to both sides. Then I have an x plus 6 on this side equals a 3x. Now because my constant is on the same side, I have to move this x to the other side. So now I'm left with 6 equals a 2x, divide by a 2, and again my x gives me a solution of 3.
Ooh, okay. I teach that totally different.
Do you really?
I do. I have them always start with their variables.
Well, I encourage.
Their number 1 step is to get variables on the same side.
Yeah, and you can, the reason I do that is because kids get hung up on where do I start?
Where do I start?
And it really doesn't matter. So let me pick.
Okay, I like that because it doesn't matter, but I feel like mine get confused on once they do that, where do they go with it?
Well, let me just show you what I mean. And again, I said I wasn't going to do all 5, but again, it's because this is where they start to argue with each other. So let's start with the variables. Let's say that we use Cervantes' step. And on the first example, I started with the smaller x, but let's say that I start with my bigger x on this one.
So then you're working with more negatives, right?
Yeah. And this is where we want to kind of pay attention to. Where should I start? But as you guys can see in every example, I'm getting the x's on one side, whether it be the left or the right, and the constant on the other side. So you always have to end up balancing it. That's the whole reason we talk about balancing equations and using these balance bars. So here you can see I have a negative 2x, and on the right side I have a negative 6. When I divide those both by the negative 2, I still end up with a positive 3.
Yep. Okay, so I like that, and this will probably work with the advanced class, but here's what I want to point out. Here's why I don't always suggest it, is because look at all these negatives you're dealing with.
Okay,
look at all these negatives, and where does everyone usually make a mistake? With their negatives. So I usually don't suggest that, but if you can do it that way, like we talked about before, there's multiple ways to do a problem. The one I like to see for people that are struggling, that don't know, aren't sure where to start, is to start with get the variables on the same side and move the smallest variable term, like Ms. Talati said.
But every
So
time.
if you're struggling, you could do it this way. So move the smallest variable term first. So like she moved the 1x, she made it the negative 1x, that's smaller than 1x is smaller than 3. Move it because then look, you got rid of your negative. You're not working with a negative 2x like you were here. But there are, in this group that I do have this year, they do them different ways, so that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you can see in all three ways, we use the inverse operations. I want to call out names in this video so bad, but I'm not going to because they're driving me nuts. But you guys, you're going to see how these get really complex as we go. So the cleaner it is, the easier it is to avoid making those simple mistakes.
Show your work.
Yeah.
All right, Andy's rental car charges an initial fee of $20. So you have an initial fee, flat fee of $20. I don't like that it's not a different color. Initial fee of $20 plus an additional $30 per day. Here's your unit rate. We were talking about that today. To rent a car. Buddy's rental car charges an initial fee of $36 plus an additional $28 per day. For what number of days is the total cost charged by both companies? So charged by both companies the same. So I want to see when Andy's and Buddy's, right,
Yeah.
are the same. So I want to see when they're equal. Okay, so let's look at Andy first. Andy charges $20 plus an additional $30 per day. Oh, and isn't X, because number of days is what I'm looking for, isn't that my number of days? So if you identify your variable first, it's a number of days. So what is it, $30 per day? If you want to write this as 30x plus 20, that's fine too, doesn't matter, okay? So then Buddy's is 36 initial fee plus 28 per day. All right, if I follow my rules that I do for the ones struggling in the beginning, if my first step is to get the variables on the same side, I want to look at which one's smaller. I have a 30x as a variable term and 28x. 28x is smaller, so I move that one. And then I get a negative 28x here. Draw your line, show your work. Add down 20. What do I get here? Positive 2x equals 36. And those cancel.
And
now
then
you're
look.
looking.
Two-step.
Yeah. Everybody see that? Okay. All right. So then I'm still trying to isolate my 2x, and I get rid of the one that's not closest to me, not my best friend. So I'm going to subtract 20, also because I'm doing PEMDAS backwards. Do it to the other side. Am I going to run out of room again? Because I write too big.
Nope.
2x equals, what do we get here? Positive 16. Here's another step. I'm still not done because x isn't by itself.
There's our one step. Oh, there's my one.
It's because I had a wrong number. Okay, and then the inverse of 2 times x is divide by 2. What you do to one side, you do to the other. So what do you get? You get x is 8. Do I know that's true yet? I could plug in 8 here, and I could test it out. And that's what, 240 plus 20 is 260. And what do I get here? 8 times 28.
4, 6.
That's 4.
48.
48 and 36? No, 160.
28.
It's
I'm
Friday.
so bad at mental math. There's 22 plus the 36.
There
Look
we
at
go.
that, 260.
260. Okay, so it works. Good thing Miss Talati's fast.
So that means at 8 days.
Yep, so you have to write out your answer. So for what number of days is the total amount charged the same? So at 8 days, the cost is the same. Okay, so there's your answer.
Now, isn't our handwriting just so fun? It's like it should be its own font. I'm not even joking.
Okay.
Oh, right, a real world situation to be
Ooh.
modeled. Okay, what can we do? What has realistic, yeah, yes.
Per month. Per month.
Flat fee.
Flat fee per month.
Let's call it, let's make it the
Cervati's.
Fitness, Cervati's Fitness. Cervati's Fitness Gym. Cervati's. Is that how we spell it? Cervati's? No.
No.
How do we
Your
spell
end
Cer-
of your last name.
It's pride adding how to spell my name.
T, like to lock T.
Cervati's Fitness charges. Oh, I'm gonna get creative with my language. An initial
There you go.
initial fee of $150 to sign up. And then $25 per, oh God, I just tried to write per month as one word. You guys can see why I don't teach ELA, it would be detrimental. Okay, well, who could be the other Jim? Let's change colors. Let's make it like,
Mrs. Olds.
Mrs. Old's Jim.
Oldie. Oh,
Miss-
Hartman and Old. Hold.
Hold.
Harold.
Oh, Harold. Let's keep it a secret, you guys. Harold, did she just yell? Harold Jim charges $55 per month. Do we want it to say at how many months will the two gyms cost the same?
Perfect.
Go ahead and solve that without us. Solve it. Let's see who's watching the video. Okay, solve that problem. We're going to check that, and then you guys have 3 there and 1 there to do on your own.
All right.
All right.
Have a good
Okay,
weekend. Show your work.
Hopefully we entertained you. Goodbye.